Hey guys, it's Old Man G here, back again with another Red Devil Studio Live podcast. I'm joined by Tom and JD. I'm sure more be coming shortly. And we're basically, it's just to discuss a few key topics, a few of the main topics, I guess, from the world of European football. But remember, guys, if you're new to the channel, remember to like, share, and subscribe to Red Devil Studio. Follow us on Twitter, Unite X, and smash the notification button for latest Manchester United news. Make sure to obviously get your questions in, and yeah, hopefully we'll have a good show. So let's just get straight into actually our first topic. Can anyone stop Liverpool? Now, obviously, this is on the fence from Liverpool with Thiago obviously joining Liverpool. Liverpool convincingly beating Chelsea 2-0. They look quite slick. They've obviously won 2 games. They look like they've just, carried on from the previous season. Given how they strengthened, he's obviously signed Jota as well. Like I said, Thiago looks like a good signing. Van Dijk, etc., etc., etc. My question here really is to the panel, really, and obviously for those who are listening. Do you see Liverpool winning the league again? Potentially even win the Champions League? Who can? Well, I mean, I think it's like, who can? Can anyone stop Liverpool? And if anyone can, who can? So first, so that goes just to JD first. What are your thoughts on that? Can anyone stop Liverpool? And who can? If that your answer is yes.
Yes, from what I saw, Liverpool is not a complete dominant team, as if like the Manchester United of old and the current Manchester City team, and even I would go far back and say the Chelsea team that dominated for a while as well. I strongly believe that added Thiago Alcantara makes them massively stronger, but at the same time makes them a little bit more vulnerable in a sense, because keep in mind, they had a system wherein which they played from the fullback as creative attackers. Trent can't defend to save his life. That's the first thing. So once you take the creation away from him and put it back in midfield, that means he's going to be a liability on the crosses because he's going to be stagnant. And even as bad as how Chelsea played, they still got him caught out, got that wing side caught out a lot when Werner were actually there. So I still saw that problem. So I would go with a Flair team in Manchester City can break them down. And I still believe that one of the next teams that are in and around the top 6, like Everton, their playing style suits that way to break them down. And in Europe, I still believe they are no match from Bayern Munich. So I think those are the 3 teams.
They didn't play Bayern Munich in the Champions League, obviously, just because obviously of Atletico Madrid. And then the previous year when they played them, obviously they spanked them, didn't they?
They didn't really spank them, believe me. It was massively close on that, and that was an aging Bayern Munich team with some guys getting into rhythm. Now they are way better. I strongly believe that they are no match. They can't come with their gegenpressing against Bayern Munich. I think they are going to get destroyed because they're going to get high pressed off the pitch just like Barcelona. And they are not technical enough, so they would have to over rely on Thiago and then get Trent exposed. Keep in mind, bro, remember I came here before and told you guys that this season Trent will be exposed because teams will set up against Liverpool to press them high. And then you will see how poor he is as a defensive player. Remember, that was before the season started. I told you guys that. And in game 1, what you saw happen? He was the worst player on both teams.
Yeah, I mean,
so that means I know exactly what I'm talking about. So let's see.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing is that, like, I mean, Bayern Munich played their own high line and press as well. It seems under their new coach, So, and that certainly in the Champions League, you could see that was being exploited, and there were several instances, certainly against PSG, where that was a problem. So, if there's any team that can exploit a high line, Liverpool can also do it as well. You know what I mean? So they kind of
fair enough, but. Fair enough, but remember that's why I pointed out 2 flaws if they can't work both at the same time. Look, that PSG team is much more stronger in midfield than Liverpool. Remember, Liverpool have had Thiago in order to get creativity. You get me? So that's a different. Verratti was a natural, gifted creator in the midfield, and they still have robustness in the midfield, just the same at the start. So in a sense,
do you think Bayern Munich's midfield is worse than Liverpool's midfield?
not worse than Liverpool's midfield. No. I wouldn't say that at all. Goretzka, Kimmich will go back into midfield, and then you have Muller playing the attacking midfielder. I don't believe that is a bad midfield. No, that's a good midfield just the same. But because they have a complete package as a team, that's why. And they have a system that they do play by. But Liverpool's system is the gegen pressing. But the pressing doesn't come from the midfield. So they have to alter the entire midfield to fit Thiago in. That's my problem. So I don't see enough of that for me to come up and state it that they will be so dominant. Maybe they will eventually lose maybe 2 in the next games, in the next 5 games, and then we will be talking on a different topic. If they can actually stay in the top 4, you never may know. Because once a new player comes and he's that big and high profile, he's going to take a while to embed in, and then players will get frustrated because they are not going to get the same amount of attention as before, because he's so key to a new system, but their old system he can't fit. It's going to be a struggle. I kind of seeing it coming, but let's wait.
Fair enough. You know, so that's JD, our bitter Manchester City fan. Sean, who's just joined us. Sean, as obviously as the resident Liverpool fan, do you think Liverpool will defend it? Do you think they'll be unstoppable this season? Premier League, Champions League. Who do you think can stop them?
Well, it's early doors at the moment, but I don't know. I mean, Liverpool, we've gotten close to 100 points, you know, in 2 seasons in a row now. I don't think we're going to get worse this season. You know, I don't think we're any worse now than what we were last season. In fact, we've strengthened somewhat. You know, so I don't think there's going to be a major drop off from that. I think just the question is who can keep up. You know, and at the moment, I don't think anyone's had the perfect start. You know, to the extent where everyone is completely happy with their team in the Premier League at the moment. But yeah, so like I unstoppable. I mean, I can't see us being less unstoppable than what we were last season. But you know, last season we obviously were stopped by Watford. So it's just like one of them things where you know, it depends on like how he can rally the team. If you can keep them on board. It's always difficult to get a team motivated again to do it again, you know, the following season. But you know, this team has done it, you know, 2 seasons in a row where they've come close to you know, winning the Premiership and winning the Premiership and winning the Champions League the season before. I don't know, like unstoppable, like time will tell. I kind of wish we strengthened up front a little bit as well, because
Yotta, isn't it? Yotta's a strength up front, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know like how often he's going to play. Like, I don't know if he's going to be more like a you know, just like a little bit of a fill-in, or you know, resting someone. I'm not too sure. I don't know how he's going to step up as well. I do know he's a good player and everything, but I don't know. I haven't really seen anything of him at Liverpool yet. So time will tell to see if he can deal with it. So yeah, I mean, I'm not unhappy with Liverpool right now. I don't think, you know, I think if we really did nothing in the transfer window, then you know that would be really, really tough. All I can really say from my point of view is I think I love this team more than I did the team that had Gerrard in it. You know, and that's saying a lot. I think there's just like they just feel like a family on and off the pitch. Everyone gets on with each other. It's just a great dressing room, and you know, Klopp loves them all. It just feels like a brilliant, like an amazing a team. Like there's no one really at the moment that particularly stands out for me. I'm just like not like, oh, Van Dijk's my favorite player, Mane's my favorite player, Salah's my. I don't really have a favorite player right now. I just generally just love the team. So that's the first time that I've ever said that. Sorry.
So crack on, mate. Go on. There was a phone call coming in for me. Go on.
Sorry, buddy. Yeah. So yeah, I don't really have a favorite player. That's the first time that I can say that in the history of me watching Liverpool play, is that I don't really have a favorite player. I just generally just love everyone on the team. They all have great personalities, and even though there was an era, I always either like loved Gerrard or Robbie Fowler or Steve McManaman or something like that. When I was growing up, but now it's just like everyone's great. It just feels like they're all there's a togetherness there. And it just feels like quite wholesome and I don't know, like I don't think anybody else in the Premiership has got that, and they fight for each other. They're like brothers out there. So I feel that it's going to be a good season no matter what happens. I don't think it's going to be like completely disastrous. I mean, I mentioned I heard Trent getting mentioned. He's not going to get worse either. Like teams are going to expose him, but it's not like he's not going to train and practice, to get himself better at his game. He's only a young lad. Don't forget. It's because of him that we want.
I'm not cutting it, bro. I was saying the exact thing you're saying. The only thing I add to it was because Thiago Alcantara came into the side, and his key strengths are what Trent's strengths are as well. So if you're going to focus the attack from him, you're going to take away Trent's key strengths. So he maybe need to be much more defensive, and that will expose him a little bit. That's what I was trying to say. That's all.
Yeah,
I weren't.
That's what I mean. Yeah, I'm for that. Like if but I'll go one further and say that he can get good defensively as well. I don't think he's going to be exposed for long. I think that he'll get his head wrapped around it and he'll get better. He is disappointed when he makes errors, and I think for a young lad, he will get on top of it. And hopefully he'll be good at both. I mean, in the game against Chelsea, you did still see those bombing runs up the wing from Trent at the same time. So yeah, I don't know. Like I feel good about the team. The first couple of games that I seen, like the game against Leeds, for instance, you're not gonna. I'll give Leeds that one goal that they scored. It was a really, really great goal from outside the box. The other two goals that they scored, you're not going to see teams score them kind of goals all season against Liverpool. Like that's just them sort of early games when you work out the kinks. Like I don't think Virgil van Dijk's going to be that lazy for all of his games. He'll get it together again, and as great players always do. You can have a good game once in a while, but if you're a real class player, then that class will always ooze through. And I think we're going to be just as feared as anybody else in the Champions League, and similar in the Premiership. I'm looking forward to the season. It's going to be a good season, I think, from not just from the Premiership point of view, but just from all of the leagues. Really, just be interesting to see what happens.
Fair enough, Sean. Fair enough. And just to round off, Tom, Liverpool, can anyone stop them? If so, who? What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I don't ever believe in a team's unbeatable, because anything can happen in football. Everybody said about the United teams were unbeaten. United never went a whole season, unbeaten. I know the Arsenal team, that the Invincibles team. That's a different story. There was a lot of late goals in that season, and I think it did rely on luck at times. But in terms of this Liverpool team, I do agree with what Shani says, where obviously they have improved. You bring in Thiago. Thiago's one of the top, probably 5 midfielders in the world right now, after the time that he's had at Bayern, and he's just come off the winning the Champions League. And then the following year, all these Liverpool players won the Champions League. So he's going into a team full of winners anyway, so he's going to fit in instantly. Jota is a little bit different because obviously he's coming from Wolves, where at Wolves he hasn't won anything, but the system that they play at Wolves is very tactical based. Nuno's a very tactical coach, so when he comes over and he obviously goes into Klopp's team, he's going to fit in instantly because you can play him anywhere in the front three. Say if Firmino got a little knock, you can easily fit Jota or Origi in. So you've got them options now, which I don't think Liverpool had last season. And I think the problem with Liverpool was they didn't have that spark player to come off the bench. Like against Chelsea, Thiago came on and he was the game changer in the whole game. Exactly the same with such as what Diego Jota can be. But I think about it. There is teams. Liverpool for me were lucky against Leeds. I'm going to say it now. They were lucky against Leeds because Bielsa played Klopp at his own game, the pressing game. Played him at his own game where it was, so Liverpool wanted to try and press the ball out to Trent or to Robertson. Didn't let him have a minute on the ball. It was straight away. They were straight onto him. So then they have to play it back. So then suddenly you're nullifying the creativity, and then the goal, the penalty. Obviously, the penalty happens. The goal for the second goal for Salah came straight off of a set piece, so it was from a set piece pretty much. So there's obviously 2 goals there from set pieces, and suddenly, Liverpool obviously got the edge in the game in the end of it, but the way Bielsa set up was it was almost like Ancelotti did at Napoli, where Napoli they set all these traps out on the field, and you stand on one of them, and suddenly you're running back to your own goal. It's very difficult to play against a team or a manager that knows how to do that. That's why such as the Merseyside derby is going to be a lot closer this season than it has been in recent years between Liverpool and Everton. So I'd say Everton can do it. I think Leeds could do it again because Bielsa is going to learn from obviously what happened. And I think when you get that feel to play a team once in a season, you come back better and you come back stronger. And that's what a lot of teams did. Obviously, City went there and obviously lost 3-1 at Anfield. Then they went back to the Etihad. They learned from the mistakes, and then they beat them 4-0. So I think obviously City are in that category. But if we talk about Europe, I could name a couple. Obviously, the big name is Bayern Munich. Personally, for me, I think PSG could do it if they sorted out the fullback areas, because obviously I know they brought in Florenzi, but Kerr in that final, he just got ripped apart by Koeman. It was as simple as that, and really that left-hand side cost PSG the Champions League, in my eyes anyway. But I think obviously Liverpool are going to challenge for the Premier League and obviously challenge for the Champions League. But I think it's a bigger ask for the Champions League because a lot of the teams have got better, and you've got to be what's at the top, and at the top is Bayern Munich. And Liverpool against Bayern Munich would be a game that I think everybody would want to watch if it happened, say now, because when they played last time, it's different circumstances to last time than it is now. There's a lot more. It's a lot more of a dangerous Bayern Munich team, but. No, I think in terms of the Premier League, I can't. City will put up a fight, but it's if they can keep it going for the whole season. And when it comes to say Christmas time, if a team's going to go all the way for the title, because that's the midway point, and that's where teams will start to drop off. Okay. But I think Liverpool got to be hands down favourites to win the league.
Fair enough. Okay, so there's been enough Liverpool praising already. So let's actually just move on to and getting out of English football actually as well. So amongst anything, remember, if you guys are watching, please like the vid. It goes a long way. Yes, if we just we also talked about Liverpool. I think the next probably topic is ending up with obviously another team that looks like they're going on. That's Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich Supreme. 8-0. 8-0. As far 8-0. 8-0. First match of the Bundesliga. 8-0. 8-0 again. I know Schalke have been not great. They've not been great at all, but you put 8 goals past Bayern Munich in the Champions League, and then to put 8, I mean, when you concede 8 goals, if you concede 8 goals to anybody, the fans, all of them, whatever, like they must get all their tickets refunded. But I mean, thankfully, the positive thing for Barcelona and for Schalke is that no fans are in the stadium, because if you concede 8 goals like that, it's just like there's just something about that works in the wrong way, So, but regardless, this isn't about bantering Schalke or Barcelona again for conceding 8 goals against Bayern Munich. But it's just about how dominant and supreme we think that Bayern Munich can actually be. Obviously, you can see 2 players that I think are going to be key for them this season, in Leroy Sane, their new signing, and obviously Serge Gnabry. What do people, and starting off with JD again, I think we could probably all agree at this stage that Bayern Munich are going to win the Bundesliga. I don't think that is going to be. I know people might go, oh, maybe Dortmund and maybe not. No. Bayern Munich are going to win the Bundesliga. I could put probably good money on the fact that Bayern Munich are probably going to win the Bundesliga. So I think the big question is, can they defend the title? An almost similar question to Liverpool question. It's like, who can actually stop Bayern Munich, or are they just good? So start with you, JD.
All right. First, I would say in the league, I picked them to win this season and next season. So that clears out Tactical Manager TV's prediction that Dortmund will win the league this season, because he really likes Holland. So that's why I said that. So that's past. Now we are going to focus on the Champions League. For the Champions League, I think it all comes down to how fit the players are at the latter stages, because of their success last season. I strongly believe that that will galvanize them to push forward. But on current form, they are the best team in Europe completely. So we will have to have them as the massive favorites to repeat. Teams that maybe can do something against them, as you said before, Liverpool equipped to do something against them. The PSG team, if they can sort out their issues, is also equipped to do something against them. And maybe you have to go towards like the smaller teams, like Leipzig and those teams. Because to be fair, Real Madrid and Barcelona ain't in a good form and ain't in a good situation, and also Juventus. So it's not because of Bayern is so massively strong. I respect them a lot. But I think they are in a time now, they are really good, but they are in a time now where most of the teams going through transition period are problems, because we are in a pandemic type of situation. You understand? So it just suit them properly. So I think they are the favorites to go on and do something. It's just few teams can stop them: Liverpool, PSG, and maybe Man City if we can get a defender. Those are the 3 teams I expect to do something against them. If they can't, they are going to do the double.
Okay, fair enough. So potentially doing a double, potentially PS, as you said. Sean, Bayern Munich.
Amazing. Yeah, amazing. I watched the game actually. They were just like from start to finish. It just looked absolutely incredible. It didn't matter. The midfield was filled. Obviously, they let one of their star players go. I'm glad they did. But it was. But yeah, they once again you had people pushing up into midfield and dropping back to kind of fill that space, and it was just working. Sane absolutely fantastic on his debut. I think it was 2 assists and a goal, wasn't it, for Sane? It just they just look like an amazing team. They could wrap everything up again. Like 2 seasons in a row. I really in terms of weaknesses, you'd really be nitpicking. That's how good this Bayern Munich team is. So yeah, I don't think Dortmund or anybody will challenge. I think they're just going to have. It's just going to be fun for them. I think. I think after next season, they're going to have to start thinking about starting to get a replacement for like maybe Müller and Lewandowski. But I think they're good for now. It's going to be interesting, and it's just another team that's. I think they're just going to take the season by the scruff of the neck and just tell it where to go and it's just great for the Champions League as well. It's going to be interesting watching them battle it out with all of Europe's best. So yeah, it's fantastic, great. I can't say anything more on it. Really, it's just as a football fan, it's a great time.
Fair enough. And lastly, Tom, thoughts on Bayern dominance?
Well, you've just said it there, dominance. I'll be very surprised. In terms of the league, I think one team can mount kind of a challenge, and I don't think it is though. I think it's Leipzig, because the way they showed that fight in the Champions League was phenomenal. Leipzig have only been in existence 10, 11 years, and they got to a Champions League semi-final. And they've got one of the youngest coaches ever. I don't know if he's the youngest coach ever to get to a Champions League semi-final, but
yeah, he is.
Well, there you go. But wow, I think a lot of teams, if you're going to look for a manager, I think he's going to be one manager who's going to be on your list. But if they can keep him, and obviously they've got they've promoted some good players through their systems and stuff. Like you look at such as Werner and stuff who's played for him, and there's obviously Upamecano there who possibly might go next summer. But if we're being realistic about it, I think Bayern Munich are going to be the team to beat, not just in their league, but probably in Europe. It's obviously it's too easy to call because obviously we've only seen one match. Everything might fold in the next couple of games, but I'll be very, very surprised. But just everything about I've talked a lot about the mixture in teams where you've got the experience and you've got the youth, and they've added they've added Sane in there, and they've got rid of such as Thiago, but Thiago going out of that team doesn't make much difference to how Bayern Munich are going to play this season. If I'm being honest, it doesn't, because you can easily just slot somebody in there like a Goretzka. Or if they need to go out there, they'll go and buy a midfielder. But I think the recruitment at Bayern Munich over the last probably 12 to 18 months has been phenomenal. Obviously bringing in players such as Pavard's been a decent player for them. Obviously when they brought in Gnabry, got Sane for close to 50 million. Absolute bargain. Bargain. Even same with Thiago. I can't believe they let him go for 30 million euros. Like 25 million. I can't believe that. It's ridiculous money. But no, I think obviously the Bayern Munich team. Personally, I'm banking them to win the league and to win the Champions League again, because Barcelona aren't going to come close to challenging for the Champions League. Real Madrid aren't, so I think you can rule all the Spanish clubs out. I'll probably rule out all the Italian clubs because Juventus is the closest to that, and they're a million miles away. You go over to France, there's only one team, and that's PSG. Out of probably three teams, PSG, Liverpool, or Bayern Munich will win the Champions League, because I can't see anybody else mounting some sort of a challenge. City, it's difficult to call because you don't know with Pep. I think that's the problem. You don't know with him because he tries to overcomplicate things. But Liverpool's the best shot from England. Munich's the best shot from Germany, and PSG's the best shot from France. Italy and Spain are just in the dark ages, really. Juventus haven't won the Champions League in centuries. Barcelona and Real Madrid are on the decline and trying to get back there and trying to rebuild. So it's going to take them a while. Bayern Munich were in that phase at one point, but they've obviously built back up and they've got back to the mountain. And it's now you've got to knock them off of the mountain. And they're the only two teams that I could see doing that is PSG or Liverpool.
Fair enough. Look, I think, like I said, this is one of those watch the space ones. So Bayern Munich are certainly, and obviously the Champions League draw is going to be on the 1st of October. So that's next week, I think, next Friday. So we'll certainly have a better picture as to how the groups will look like, who's going to play who. Obviously, the likes of United, City, and Chelsea are going to be in pot 2, Liverpool in pot 1. So we know Liverpool and Bayern won't play each other until at least. Well, I expect Liverpool and Bayern to top their group, so probably not on, if they're going to play, not at least till the quarterfinal stage at the very earliest. But yeah, I think I watch the space, as everyone said. Bayern Munich are favourites, Liverpool obviously are favourites, and even PSG. So looking forward to it. Let's see what happens. But I think we can all agree that Bundesliga is pretty much. I'd be very, 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 very surprised if somehow Bayern Munich did not win the Bundesliga this season. Or I think they're 10th in a row or 9th in a row. I'm not entirely sure.
Lost count.
Lost count.
Absolutely ridiculous. How good of a league. How good is the league really if like one team can win the league, like the title 10 times in a row? You know what I mean? I know that Barcelona and PSG have the thing.
Yes, but it's still a strong league because keep in mind, Leipzig were actually there in the final sets of game in the Champions League. That's how good they are. So sometimes we are kind of underselling Bayern Munich's greatness.
I don't know. It's there's a part of me that's like, I don't disagree with you. So, but at the same time, this was a unique Champions League. There was only, one leg for the most part. So I'm not trying to take that away from Leipzig or Bayern because they were one-off games, but this was a different Champions League. It's like I often make an argument that PSG against Atlanta, if there was a home and away leg, would PSG have gone through? Especially if Ilicic was there once this whole thing. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know. So I guess what I'm saying, I think, yeah, we'll have a better picture, assuming that there's obviously going to be home and away legs. There might not be, in which case this might be the new normal. But we'll see what happens. Anyway, moving on to the next topic, which will be more up for debate, I guess. Luis Suarez. So going from obviously Bayern Munich to Barcelona and the effectively panic and chaos that seems to be going on at that football club, to be honest, right now. And Ronald Koeman has made it clear that he doesn't want Luis Suarez at the club anymore, basically. He just doesn't. Wants him gone. And there have been rumors but Fabrizio Romano has pretty much confirmed on Twitter today that Luis Suarez to Athletico. I think he was originally wanting to. There was
Juventus.
originally going to Juventus. I think now I think Morata that's probably going to go to Juventus.
Yep.
And it is Luis Suarez to Atletico Madrid. So I guess the first question when I'll start with JD is this two questions actually. One, has Luis Suarez, this whole process, have they disrespected Luis Suarez given everything that he's obviously done? So that's the first question. The second question is this a good move, a good purchase for Atletico Madrid? So those are two questions. Has Suarez been disrespected by Barcelona, given everything he's obviously contributed to Barcelona? And the second is this a good move, a good purchase for Atletico Madrid?
Okay. Well, for me, definitely 100%. This is a very much disrespectful behavior from a board, a manager, and a club. Because you can't, and it looks like it's just the big clubs in Spain, because it was a similar disaster as Gareth Bale. You understand? A new manager comes in, he doesn't mesh with the player, and he decided, okay, we're gonna get you out. So whatever you did before, really don't matter. You need to go. But the surprising thing, why I'm going to say it's massively disrespectful, they said they are going with a philosophy of younger players. He's just 1.5 years older than Messi. So why you guys struggle so hard to keep Messi in the club and then run the guy out like that? You understand me? So it's not professional. Moving on to the next point, I think Morata leaving, um, and Atletico's team setup. They normally set up with two strikers at a time or one right behind. So one player as a centre forward, which lack pace and have creativity. I strongly believe that Suarez can play that role with Thiago Costa. And it will be much effective or Joao Felix. I think he's going to fit into their squad pretty easily because he's kind of similar player. I would say, he's kind of similar player to what's his name again that came from Atletico to Barcelona. Griezmann. He's kind of similar. No, because he's older now. He can play that similar system to Griezmann, and I think Atletico didn't really advance since Griezmann. They're playing the same style of football, bank defenders, and try and bypass their midfield to use their strikers as older play. That's why they normally use two strikers.
What's in subs? We're just going to read some of these comments. Suspect Dream, because I know he's a watcher. And shout out to Suspect Dream, and please head over to his channel for those who watching who will be watching. Suspect Dream says Morata to Juve, Suarez and Diego Costa Atletico, the Bricks reunion. Massive disrespect, as agreeing with you. He thinks it's a good move for Atletico Madrid. And then people who look at the Real Madrid Gareth Bale's and say Real Madrid's entirely in fault definitely has to share in the blame entirely. Premier League merchants who haven't looked past the Premier League. I don't know. I don't think that's. I don't think that's fair. I think that to be honest, at the end of the day, like Gareth Bale scored a bicycle kick in a Champions League final against Liverpool, and then was dropped for the start. Starting. I admit Gareth Bale. It's 50 because Gareth Bale obviously had his injuries. I think there's no doubt about that. So, but it's obvious that him and Zidane, to be honest, from the get-go, didn't really get on. So I think that it is what it is, and it was clear that the club wanted to get rid of him. He wants to leave. They stopped him from going. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's all Real Madrid's fault. It can never be all someone else's fault. But at the same time, I do think that the fault. There's also an element of fault with Zidane, with Perez, and with the Real Madrid sort of community as well, in terms of just the general booze and stuff like that as well. So that's my 2 cents anyway. But sorry, JD, finish your point.
Okay, I was actually on the part where you ask about Suarez if he's a good move for Atletico. Atletico plays a 4-2-3-1 system, a 4-1-4-1 system, and a 4-4-2. I think Suarez will fit into all of those roles pretty easily because they don't defend and speed. Keep in mind he's getting older, so his legs is going, but his craft is still there. So I think I agree with everything that the guy is saying here, that he will be a good move for them because he's a veteran and he's highly skilled.
Okay. Sean, what are your thoughts? Suarez to Atletico Madrid.
How much was the deal?
Let's just have a look. I'll just get the Fabrizio Romano tweet. As obviously someone who's had experienced Luis Suarez at their club. Let's just have a quick look. Fabrizio, how much?
Yeah, because I'm not one of them like Suarez fanatics or anything. I thought he was an absolutely brilliant player. I think his behaviour.
I don't think they. Oh, sorry. I just wanted to stop you, Sean.
It wasn't a fee. He released himself.
Yeah. He terminated his own contract with a clause.
Yeah. Okay, so that's what happened. Okay, fine. Okay, so there's no fee. It was just as you said, he terminated his contract.
Okay.
Go on, Sean.
Well, that's unbelievable. I would have thought they'd get some money for him. So like, if that's the case, then good on Atletico because they got themselves a good player that they can maybe milk a couple of years out of. So you would take a gamble on someone like Suarez like that. It's like, he's definitely with the right manager, isn't he? Because they kind of they almost even like look alike to a certain extent. So, but yeah, for Atletico to inherit a player like Luis Suarez is just all power to them, really. I think, like I say, there's maybe a couple of years of quality left there that they can maybe milk out of him, and then you know, there's nothing lost in a sense, because if they didn't pay anything in the first place, so yeah, it's a really good move, I think, from Atletico, and I think Suarez is going to relish the chance to get back at Barcelona, as he always does. You know, he loves that kind of you know, that kind of rivalry. So yeah, watch the space, I think.
Okay. And lastly, Tom, Suarez to Atletico, thoughts?
Well, I think it's a good move. I do, because, you know, I think obviously
Cavani as well, as Cavani to
Yeah.
to Atletico Madrid has been agreed, is it?
Well, it's not been agreed, but it's being talked about because because obviously they're getting rid of Morata. They already wanted to bring in a striker, but obviously if you can get Suarez for nothing, you might as well go and do it. And you can go and get you can go and get Cavani for nothing because he's out of contract.
To be honest, Suarez and Cavani, if Diego Simeone goes back to a 4-4-2,
yeah, exactly, it works his system.
Yeah, to be honest, Suarez, Cavani, I think that's that's pretty good. But yeah, go on, Sean. Sorry, Tom.
Yeah, but you know, I think Suarez, obviously, the situation that's happened at Barcelona, it's not just happened with Suarez, it's happened with, you know, a couple of players. You know, it's similar with what's happened with such as, you know, Koeman's gone in there and he's stated to specific players that, listen, you're not going to fit my system and I don't want you here. It's as simple as that. And some of these managers are going to be ruthless in that way because they want to be successful. Klopp did it at Liverpool. You know, he said to, you know, players such as Saka and everything. He didn't do it as harshly, but he did it in a fair way where, look, you're not up to the standard that I want to play to, so I'm going to have to move you on. Whereas Koeman's gone in there like a bull in a china shop, you know, after the 8-2 defeat and just said, right, listen, you're not up to scratch, so you're not going to be staying. You know, Rakitic has gone to Sevilla for, you know, basically nothing. Vidal's gone to Inter Milan for $1 million, just short of $1 million. You know, and Suarez is now going for free to Athletico. That's 3 players that you would arguably say you would get money for. You would get big money for if you were going to sell them properly. But obviously they're not sold them. They've just terminated the contracts and said, right, on your way. You know, and I think the major debate was if Messi was going to stay or not. You know, I think they've dodged a massive bullet there. You know, I think the main focus of that from Messi wasn't necessarily to leave; it was to try and drive the board and the president out. Which the president clearly stated, well, if it means that I'll resign just so Messi can stay. Messi's decided to stay on. Whether he'll stay on and sign a new contract, that's another question. Because obviously there is the clause, he can activate the clause next season. Whether he'll do that or not, I think it'll depend on the relationship that he'll have with Ronald Koeman. Because manager-player relationship determines whether a player is going to stay. That's why such as Pogba's changed his mind about leaving United, and he's looking at signing a new contract because of the relationship he's got with the manager. So, I think in terms of Barcelona, they're doing the right thing in moving the older players on, the experienced players on, but you know, they're going on about all this to do with youth and everything. They've not replaced any of their best players since they've left. You know, I look at the best players that they've had at the club. You know, they've had such as Xavi, such as Iniesta. They haven't replaced them 2 players. You know, who can you really say has been a replacement and stood in their shoes, really? Nobody. You know, exactly the same when Lionel Messi goes. Who's really going to step into Lionel Messi's shoes? You know, Ousmane Dembele can't do it because he's too injury prone. Ansu Fati's not at that age yet. He's still learning the game and developing. So suddenly, you've not got anybody to take that role on. And this is what I mean. They don't.
Well, maybe it's not about. I mean, maybe because I think there's a lot of, and I was saying this on a show. Like, I think one of the big problems of Barcelona is that when you build a team around a player for so long, and much like the same thing with a manager, when there's just one iconic person in the club, you know, inevitably you have, like, you know, it's not much like Manchester United with Sir Alex Ferguson, where that big central figure leaves, and it's difficult to recover after that. And I think for me, one of the things about sort of Barcelona is that it really shouldn't really be about a lot of people like, oh, this how does Barcelona how does Barcelona fit Messi's shoes, as opposed to like, how do we just basically just make a good Barcelona team? How do we look at all the areas of the field to make the Barcelona squad better and more competitive? Rather than specifically just, right, we need to find a player who's as talented, skilled. That for me is the issue from what I've seen in Barcelona when they were
and that's obviously the recruitment and the scouting network.
Exactly. So so that's where I see it. But anyway, so final thoughts, Tom.
No, but like I say, I think obviously the Suarez move, it's a smart bit of business, really, considering you can get somebody for nothing. You've got two players who've played for big European clubs. Suarez coming from Barcelona, Cavani possibly coming from PSG. Both for Uruguay, and so there's going to be that link up. And I think obviously with the players that they've got there already, to boast to that, I think João Felix, he'll get the best out of him having two experienced strikers ahead of him, because they know the game, they know what to do, and he's such young, so he can learn from them. But obviously, I think for Atletico, it's a major steal, really. Getting a player of his quality for free, regardless of the age. I think any club would have probably, it could have gone to somebody it could have gone to somebody a lot worse. Let's be honest, it could have gone to somebody like a Valencia or something. And that's obviously a step down from Barcelona, where I think Atletico Madrid is a slight step down, but it's not a massive step down. But obviously, if Simeone can play the system that he does, I think it definitely benefits Suarez. It might get the best out of Suarez than he did at Barcelona.
Fair enough. Well, finally, final topic. We're almost approaching the hour, so hopefully let's get finished by then, in the next 10 minutes for our final topic, and that's overall to Serie A, and that is Pirlo and Juventus. Now, obviously, for those who've been living under, well, I won't say living under a rock, but for those who haven't been made aware, Pirlo was obviously two goats. Pirlo and Cristiano Ronaldo. One of the greatest passes of the ball, with team up with one of the greatest goal scorers. Two goats. I call them two goats. Ronaldo over Messi, but my personal opinion. Anyway, we'll go there. But Pirlo, is obviously the manager of. We were going to talk about it last time actually, but we didn't have enough time. I recently found out that actually Pirlo has just completed his coaching badges, so that's interesting. I mean, the fact that
it was the under-23s coach for I think it were a week, and then he gets promoted to first team manager.
Dream says it's not confined to Costa Atletico. No, we're saying that Cavani has been linked. He's been linked with his. He's not obviously Diego Costa's Atletico. There's been transfer.
Rid of Morata.
Has been linked, but they need to get rid of Morata. Hi, dude, that's hilarious. So I assume that's in reference to the coaching badges thing. I mean, I find it fascinating that Juventus hired a manager before he finished his coaching exams. That's just strange to me. So obviously. Respect Pirlo, great football. We'll see what happens. And frankly, in Serie A, given that Sarri was stacked despite winning the Serie A title, it's clear that the expectation for Juventus is to win the Serie A.
What a save!
To play good football, and to obviously compete in the Champions League. So, Heights Free says power of Pirlo. Well. We'll see. I mean, there still seems to be a trend around Europe, where we're getting like a lot of former legends or former players from previous clubs, that are taking teams, because frankly, there's just not enough, from what I can see, there's just not enough good experienced, high quality top managers anymore. You know, so you look obviously Solskjaer's at United, Arteta is at Arsenal, Lampard is at Chelsea, Zidane is obviously at Real Madrid, Pirlo is now at Juventus. You know, so it does seem that this does seem to be a trend going on where teams having to go to look to former players to galvanize their team and try and make something. So, but you know, that's me talking for a while. Like going to JD, obviously Juventus actually did win their first game of the season. I bet fairly straightforward opposition. Do you think that Pirlo is going to be a success at Juventus? You know, I mean, I expect them, irrespective, to win the league. But do you think he can really do better than Sarri, take them further in the Champions League and play? He said he wants to play total football, so you know clearly he's not. It's not going to be boring. But what do you think, JD? What are your thoughts?
All right, let me start with his credibility then. For instance, you said something about you realize it's a trend going around that most of the clubs kind of hiring all of the legends for the club. You realize that because they went with a stability coach or manager, I should say, that should have took the club way forward. And because all of those managers failed,
Sorry
they
to
went back
interrupt.
and
Sorry to interrupt, Jay. Just wanted to just quick comment. Tazka man says, but let's be honest, he has the experiences in the sport and was heavily involved in Manchester's career. And no, I don't disagree with that, but there have been clearly other managers in world football that have a lot more experience than Pirlo has in managing at the highest level. You know, was my point. But anyway, go on, JD.
yes, I was actually trying to expand on your point where you're saying it's like a trend. No, it's not necessarily a trend. It's a tactic to gain back funds or to keep your revenue streams going. When you had a set manager that should take a club forward for the next 5 years, and those managers get sacked, the best way to go is always back to a legendary player that it
Mm,
can calm the funds down a little bit and get your shirt sales going for the next season. So I
mm,
strongly believe that he came in as a stable, a steady ship manager. So they
mm,
didn't really brought him in to galvanize the squad. Yes, he's a legend, and maybe that can have the trickle down effect and do something. They are trying to hope for that, but I still believe they just brought him in just to steady the ship a little bit on the financial side
mm,
rather than the experience and the performance side. But
mm,
moving on to the playing side of it, he just got his coach's badges. Really and truly, that really don't say much in terms of him because remember he was the little genius. He could see the game. So
mm,
really and truly, the coaching badges really don't mean much in terms of his credibility to set people up on the pitch and make sure they are effective to create and analyze the game. I think he's one of the best at doing that. So
mm,
I would give him a little edge, but the squad itself is just not strong to stretch
mm,
right across Europe. And that's why I think he's not going to be a success in the Champions League. Maybe in the Serie, but I still doubt it because I strongly believe it's going to be either Lazio, Atalanta, or Inter Milan pushing them to the edge, and because they're older, they're going to tire out at the end. And I think um, Inter or Atalanta will end up winning it. I don't believe they're going to win any one of the big trophies this season, the league or
well,
the Champions
that
League.
sounds like a failure to me, JD. So, he'll be
N-
sacked.
No, it's not going to be a failure because really and truly they can always bank on it and say it's his first season, and because
Mm,
he
Yeah,
just
but it
got
was
his
Sarri's
coach's
first
badges.
season.
Bill Sarri.
No, but it's a different circumstances because you're bringing in a legend in the club. He didn't equipped for the job. He weren't equipped for the job. First
Mm,
thing, and you brought him in, and he let the players be look happier. Because
mm,
the one thing with Sarri made the players look frustrated and sad and tired. So if you give them a better energy and they do perform well, like try and give their hearts out, but still fail on both occasion, I still believe he can get a different season. Or maybe he will just walk away and they can use it as an excuse that they gave him a chance. That's what I strongly believe.
fair enough. Fair enough. Sean, your thoughts?
Uh-huh.
Pirlo, Juventus, so Pirlo, Ronaldo, Juventus, goats. What can
Yeah.
they do with them this season?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I couldn't see much wrong with his first game, but obviously he does also have a lot of quality on his team. So it's a really really great and maybe a bit of a blessed job for him because of the circumstances of the team that he has inherited. So it does seem a little bit unfair on Sarri because like he kind of like built it's really really quickly like got that team together to kind of be a really really good force to be reckoned with and over in Italy and now like Pirlo's kind of like nice, okay, I can get used to this but you know his first game was against a really experienced manager and he fared really well. I do think that's probably because of the players. But you know, we'll give him time. We'll see. You never know. He might be the next Shankly or Ferguson. You know, so I think just keep an eye out for him.
Fair enough. And lastly, Tom, what as we sound off, like what are your thoughts? How successful can Pirlo be at Juventus?
Well, I said it on HH's show when Pirlo just got announced as the new manager. You know, like you said, there's obviously this trend and everything. I think with a lot of it though, it's with these clubs when they've had the ex-manager. So you've had Sarri obviously at Juventus, you've had Jose at United, you've had Setien at Barcelona. They took a nosedive in terms of results and in terms of how they was playing on the pitch. And then the fans obviously ignited the fire really in terms of, right, well, we need a change, we need something different. And obviously the players, everything's dark and gloomy. But when you bring in these club legends, you're bringing them in because they know the club, they know everything, and obviously they played for the club. And I think 9 times out of 10, obviously, they're going to have won trophies at the club. So Pirlo's obviously won, major trophies, World Cups. He's won the World Cup. He's won Italian titles, Champions League. Stuff, all these stuff like that. And I think when you take into account what Juventus have actually had over the years, when they had Allegri, I was very surprised that they didn't extend Allegri on because I didn't really see what he did wrong because he's the closest manager Juventus have had since winning the Champions League. He's been the manager because he got them to the Champions League final, but they didn't win it because obviously they lost to Real Madrid in Cardiff. But on a different night, they could have easily won that game because I wouldn't say they played appallingly. They played good enough to have won, but I just think that the result, and there was a certain Cristiano Ronaldo on that Real Madrid team, which didn't exactly help matters. But I just think that Juventus, it's a change of direction, a massive change of direction, because they need to get back to where Allegri was, where it was right. Well, we're standing on his own. We're brushing aside competition in Italy and winning the league year on year out, and we're making advances in the Champions League where we're not, just getting knocked out by some, French side that's been, finished 13th. We're getting knocked out by, some German side that's finished 7th. We're actually making at least a good stance and getting to say the semi-final, possibly the final. But I think that obviously he's not had the experience yet. But a lot of these young managers, Pep, Barcelona took a major gamble on Pep. Nobody even knew Pep before Barcelona, and he went and won 2 Champions Leagues. Numerous Spanish titles, cups. And now he's renowned as probably one of the best managers out there, beside Jurgen Klopp. So obviously it's a gamble for Juventus, but I would expect Juventus personally to retain the title this year. I don't see Inter Milan as good as they were last season. I think the nearest challenger is going to be Lazio for me. I mean,
they signed for Vidal.
Yeah, well,
Marku, Ericsson.
Ericsson's on the market now, though. I don't even know why they bought him because they done it off. Ashley Young. You're seriously saying Ashley Young and Sanchez is going to bring him the title?
Well, you never know.
Seriously.
You never know. You never know. You never know.
You
This is
never
the thing.
know.
You never know. I mean,
There was more chance of Alexis Sanchez winning the Premier League at Arsenal than there is in winning a league title at Inter Milan. Conte, he doesn't win trophies. It's as simple as that. He doesn't win trophies.
he won
Sevilla.
the Premier League with Chelsea.
Yeah,
And he won obviously Serie A with Juventus, didn't he?
That was different times. Come on, Juventus haven't lost a league title in God knows how long, about 10 years now. Is it so good? And there's not really been a major challenger.
Yeah, it was
last season,
the manager to win a Premier League title with obviously with Chelsea, and that
there was no real team then though, because Man City weren't as dominant. Man City weren't as dominant as they are now. Liverpool were on the rebuild.
Sorry,
United were a million miles away.
Sorry, go on. Yep. Well, no. That was. I think that was Pep Guardiola's first year.
Was it? I understand that, but there were, I think City could have at least challenged. They didn't even get really that close. But I just think like with obviously with Pirlo, it's a case of you've got to give him time. I always reiterate this with managers. It doesn't matter if the football's boring or anything. You need to give them time to change their system because you can change a manager can be changed in a matter of 5 minutes, but the way the team plays and the ambition and everything in the team takes months, possibly even a year, to change. Klopp's taken Liverpool from a nearly team to a we've made it team because they've come close to winning the title on numerous occasions and now they've got over the line finally. Juventus have come close to winning the Champions League but haven't quite got there. I would probably say if he gets backed properly, obviously he's bringing players like Morata. I think he brought some young players in. He brought a young American. I can't remember what his name was. But anyway, I think obviously it's a rebuild. It's a rebuild. They're in the phase that Bayern Munich was 18 months ago, where you need to rebuild, you need to restructure, and I think Pirlo is the right man because he knows everything about the club. So yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, so that's everything. That's everything, folks. So thanks to everyone who tuned in and was watching. Remember, if you're new to the channel, to remember to like, share, and subscribe to Red Devil Studio. Obviously, a lot more to talk about as the season progresses. Remember to stay tuned for the show. If you have any questions, we'll hopefully try in the future. Obviously, when we get further into the season, hopefully do like a Q&A of some sort. So we'll be planning for some sort of Q&A. Hides3 says, before you all head out, do you ever talk about the United Women's team or FA Women's League? We don't, but to be honest, the United Women's team are actually doing quite well. I've had a look at them, and they're certainly going on a more upward trajectory compared to the men's team. So I have considered actually covering more Women's Super League stuff on the channel. It's just a question of just audience, basically, so in time from my point of view. But it's definitely something that I'm definitely considering about. I usually tend to discuss the Women's World Cup when that's on as well. I thought it was interesting on the first week when the Premier League came back, that both I think Everton's women's and men's played against Spurs, and they both beat Spurs. So Spurs women and Spurs men lost against Everton. But it is what it is. Anyway, guys, thanks to everyone for watching. Remember, like, share, and subscribe to Red Devil Studio, Twitter, United X, smash the notification for latest match news. Have a nice day, everyone, and cheers.